we have a similar tradition that we've forgotten, which is the Purva Paksha tradition, where I could be a Vedantin and I'm going to study Buddhism. That doesn't mean I think it's the same. In fact, I'm making it different. I'm going to argue. I'm going to study it so that I can debate. And that doesn't mean I disrespect it, because I actually take it very seriously. Those are serious opponents. Or I'm a Buddhist and I'm going to debate the Vedantin, or I'm a Mimamsa, or I'm even within Vedanta, different schools. So the whole idea of sharpening who I am, my position as a Vedantin, was based on debating those who were not. So in fact, I looked at one of the training courses, one of the training methodologies for a Buddhist monk was, you do your meditation, you do your rituals, you study your tradition, and then you have to spend a certain number of hours every day in the debating court. And you have to be a member of the Hindu team, a Vedantin team, and while being a Buddhist, to learn how they would debate, how would they answer this question, and things of that sort. So this, I think that what Francis has demonstrated is a Christian Siddhanta view of the Hindu in a very authentic way. What would a Christian think of the Hindu? What are its qualities and so on? A Purva Paksha from the Christian point of view. And I feel that Hindus need the equivalent of the Jesuit college, which I just learned has 20,000 Jesuits in the world. Now that, imagine, we don't have, we have maybe 500 professors in JNU, and maybe all of Delhi University, if you looked at the humanities, would have maybe just a few thousand professors. Imagine there is no Shankaracharya, there is no, if you look at Chinmaya Mission, which is a large one, they have maybe 300 Swamis, 500 Swamis, something like that. Just imagine the staggering number of intellectual capital, scholars of highest quality, acharyas, theologians, who are exceedingly well educated, exceedingly well trained, who run dozens of colleges of their own all over the world, maybe a few hundred, I think in US 30 colleges, who have their own journals, who have their own television. So while we have produced super gurus in large numbers, we have not produced a kind of an academic setting with tens of thousands of acharyas being produced at the PhD level, and who spend like 35 years like he has spent, saying, look, I'm very proud Swami Narayan, or I'm a very proud whatever Sampradaya, and from my Sampradaya's point of view, I am an expert who can go and give a very, very detailed critique and very, very detailed analysis to this religion or that religion. In fact, I can give a discourse on Shiites to the Shiite people in such a way that they'll actually applaud me, because I've done such a good job. That is the mark of a good Purva Paksha. So I applaud that he has achieved, and the Jesuit college, which is almost 500 years old, has achieved that. Here is a tradition which is a very, very serious tradition. I mean, they have a lot of depth, a lot of learning, so we better have people who are qualified to talk to them. So at the time, they didn't have a whole lot of very highly esteemed, qualified, intellectual people who could represent Christianity in a very detailed philosophical sense. The Jesuit college was created for that. Now 500 years later, they have 20,000 people, out of which 4,500 are in India, Jesuits. So imagine, in India alone, 4,500 Jesuits, and I don't think Hindus have a fraction of that for intellectual horsepower available. So I think there's things we can learn how, and when you tell this to a lot of Hindus, when I mentioned this to one of the top Hindu organizations I won't name, how much time do you spend when you are training Swamis? How much of their time is spent in comparative religion? So he said, I don't care about others, I only care about what's in my heart. I know the truth. Why should I care about that? So I said, because have you forgotten Purva Paksha? So he was a bit impressed by that, but he hadn't thought of it, that we really need to do Purva Paksha. But then he started saying, oh, we teach them about Buddhism, and we teach them about Jainism, and we teach them about Mimamsa. So the Purva Paksha, other, in classical times, is not the relevant one today. In the classical times, when you learned Vedanta, the other who was there at your doorstep was the Buddhist, that was the competitor, or the Jain, or the Mimamsa, or somebody else. So the Purva Paksha, other, today has to be the Western. the Marxists. We have to teach every Swami, every Pandit, everybody taught Hinduism should be doing Purva Paksha of Marxism, of Christianity, of Judaism, of postmodernism, of enlightenment, of Islam. Those are the Purva Paksha that are relevant today. And this is therefore not something alien to our tradition. This is how we traditionally learned. But we have forgotten that, and when you ask a Hindu today, he is very embarrassed. And he will say, I don't want to argue, I don't want to believe. Either he'll say that the study of the other is kind of like an insult to the other, which is not how it should be, because it's a respectful study of the other, as Professor Turi demonstrated. That you can be yourself, the others is the other, and yet you can deal with them very seriously without disrespecting them. So our Hindus either they fall into the idea that studying the other will be kind of an insult to him and I'm doing something wrong by, I'm being rude by studying the other. Hindu leaders have told me that. Or they hide behind this thing that there is no difference, it's all the same, it's all either all Mithya or it's all atoms and molecules, it's all the same anyway. And they have this very naive, bumpkin kind of mindset of sameness, which means that I really don't have to work so hard to study what the other is all about because it's all the same. So the irony is that now we need to bring back Purva Paksha into Hinduism by learning it from how others have learned to do it. It's ironic that 500 years ago the balance of intellectual capital was very different. There was these formidable Brahmin traditions that the Portuguese and the others came and said, wow, we got the cannons and we can invade them and we can do all that, but they really got the intellectual horsepower and we better do something about it. So the Vatican said, okay, let's get going. And now, today, after 500 years, we don't have something like that, and the Christian traditions do. So I'm very glad that we can have this dialogue with Francis.